Hello and welcome to World of Tanks. World of Tanks is a free-to-play World War II era and concept era. Is that an error? I don't think so. Tank simulation game. I use simulation very, very lightly, because it's not really simulation. It's developed by Wargaming, who, well, this is really their main game. It's constantly being updated, and in general is actually a good game. I do have a few gripes with it, which I'll explain later on. So, in World of Tanks there are 5 tanks, and there are, several factions. You've got the USA, Germany, France, USSR, UK, China, and Japan. So all up you've got, is that 6? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, you've got 7, sorry. You've got 7 factions, and within each of these factions you have 10 tiers of tanks. These tanks include artillery, light tanks, heavy tanks, tank destroyers, and medium tanks. Generally speaking, you don't get a heavy tank until tier 5. That's what it appears to be throughout most of them. However, I have seen some tier 4 heavy tanks. I think this is one. Nope. Yeah, there we go. That's a tier 4 heavy tank. Obviously, the German tech tree is the most fleshed out, and has, well, a significant amount of tanks. The Japan, on the other hand, has, well, you've got your medium tanks, and you've got a few light tanks. That's about it. Same with the Chinese tech tree. Very, very limited in these respects. So far I have progressed through to about tier 4 on US, Russian, and UK. Now, each tank set has its own play style. A light tank is your spotter or scout. Medium's your spotter, scout / support, depends on what it's needed for. Heavy is your heavy. It's a tank. Figuratively and literally speaking, it's designed to soak up a decent amount of damage and deal out a fair bit too. Your TDs, your tank destroyers, are they're designed to, well, they're not always fast, and they're not always well armoured, but majority of the time they're going to blow a hole in something. Your SPGs with artillery are designed to sit back, be absolute, well, they're not designed to do that, it's just what happens. They're designed to sit back and kill people. However, community is one of the main things in a multiplayer game, and I'll get to that in a second. But even though each tank class has its own playstyle, you will find different tanks within that specific class with that if you drive them a certain way, you won't do well. So each tank does have to be driven a specific way and played out in a specific way in order for it to be used to the best of its advantage. Now, going on to the community thing. As with many multiplayer-only games, community is a big thing because they are the main aspect of the game. Artillery drivers, well, not all of them are like this, because I've seen quite a few that are decent, but I've also seen quite a few that are scumbags and window lickers. So, the main problem, at least with artillery, is that they'll kill themselves at the end of the game, just so they can deny someone else a kill. And, well, that's due to a little thing called Welcome to the Internet, where everyone's a cunt, in one form or another. And it's just the way it is. So, the community isn't exactly the best. There's quite a few scumbags in it. And that doesn't help because the matchmaking system in this game is quite abysmal at times. At least for the Oceanic servers, or the Asian servers. Because we have significantly less people playing the game, we end up with some quite a kind of ridiculous matchmaking. Now, previously last week, I was playing in my A20. The A20 is a tier 4 light tank, speed limit of 72, never goes that fast, so that's a blatant pain in the arse lie. And, you know, it's a decent tank all round. I was in my A20. The enemy team were in IS-3s. Look, generally speaking, it doesn't depend on what weapons or gear you have, you can win. This isn't that type of game. There is no scenario. There is no... Actually, it was an IS-6 I was going against, so that was a premium tank as well. There is no scenario in which I can penetrate this tank. There is no scenario in which I can outmaneuver this tank. There was no scenario in which I could do anything. And mind you, this was just one example. There were several other tanks, tier 8 tanks, going up against a tier 4 tank. Granted, this doesn't happen often, but the fact that it happened once is bloody ridiculous. So the matchmaking does get quite abysmal, and even now, tier 3 tanks, tier 46, well, it's not so much an issue with that, because that's a half-decent tank, but there are some other tanks where it'll throw you up against a KV-1, and the KV-1's a great tank. I love it, because it's such an overpowered piece of machinery. Nevertheless, so I'm going to jump in here, and I'm going to show off, hopefully let's jump in 3. Well, I'll show off 2, actually. So I'm going to jump here into the T-46. But before I do that, I'm going to go on the research system. So the way you unlock other tanks is to play through lower tier tanks. So, for example, the T-46, in order to unlock the T-28, I had to play through this tank enough to unlock this, then this, then this. And this all requires experience. You get experience depending on how well you perform. If you perform well, you get more. You perform shit, you get less. And there is a double XP for each day. However, it's set to 3 times at the moment. So, not sure what's going on there. I think it's some sort of weekend special. Even though it's Monday, I'm not going to complain. So, the matchmaking, whilst kind of annoying, because it's chucked me in against tier 5 tanks, is, well, it finds your game relatively quickly. So, in spite of it taking its very little time to actually find a game, it also gives you, well, not exactly a great game. Nevertheless, I'm in here, and by the looks of it, I am one of the only tier 3s on my team. Well, I'm one of the only tier 3s in the game. Oh no, there's actually quite a few of us, never mind, I retract that earlier statement. So, I will go on about the premium status of the game in a second, once I finish this game, so I can actually show it off a bit. So I'm using standard, I believe this is armor piercing. Yep, I think it is. I'm using standard armor piercing ammo on this tank. You can buy incendiary, or not incendiary, high explosive ammo, and you can buy a premium ammo. This premium ammo can be bought with in-game currency and premium currency, however it costs quite a lot of in-game currency to actually purchase. And it's the premium ammo. Now, it used to be a gold coin purchase only, and that is the premium ammo. You! Welcome to World of Tanks. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. This is a scenario in which I would have stopped recording if I were doing a regular video. However, because this is Welcome to, I have to leave this in. This is the type of shit you will encounter in the World of Tanks. Now, granted, if you're watching this, you're probably new to the game and have not exactly a great understanding. So I got pushed. I believe it was this prick here was ramming me. He was hitting me in the back of my ass and pushing me out into the enemy line of fire. I was dead. As soon as he started hitting me, I knew I was dead. My only option of attack was to push forward and hopefully make it towards that wall before I got shot. Unfortunately, I did not. And that's how it happened. So this is what this game is filled with. It is filled with pricks. It is filled with assholes. It is filled with scum. It is filled with window lickers. There are very few good players in this game. There are very few genuine players. This guy here, I'm pointing at the screen, I don't know why. This guy here in his Churchill 3, he's a window licker. He's also a bad player because as you can see, he just opened up the side of his tank. Now, I will explain this a bit here. The tanks, the damage model is quite realistic. Frontal armor is obviously the most thick. The side armor is partially thick. Back, not so much. You do have several elements of the tank that can be destroyed and broken. You've got your ammo rack, your gun, your turret, your tracks, your observation module, and once each of these is destroyed or damaged, it hinders you in one way or another. Of course, if they're all destroyed and you're on 0 health, it's a general indication that you're dead. And in that case, well, you're fucked. So, they've actually got a team-killing bastard on their team. The only reason this guy hasn't been labelled as a team killer is because he, well, pushed me out rather than... Yes. Well, fortunately enough, there actually is this complaint system. Pushing out an ally. There we go. There we go. We lost. You don't have to stay in a game, by the way. You can actually leave. That was my 3 times victory. I feel like cutting off his head with a spoon. So my times 3 victory was wasted. I got 400 XP when I could have gotten much more. I only got 400 XP because that piece of shit, and that's what he is, decided to push me out in front of the enemy fire. That's a dick move. If you do that in this game, please stop licking windows. So, hopefully the next game is slightly better, and that was a good indication of what this game's like. It's filled with dickheads. So I'm going to jump here into my medium tank. That was a light tank, hence why it was slightly fast, and why it died in about 3 seconds. However, it did put me in a tier 5 game, so that's also part of it. Now, aside from these random battles, which I'm doing here, there is also... you can do clan battles, or they're platoons in this game, hence the 1 on their team. That means those 2 in a platoon. You can do platoon battles, and you can group up with friends, and there are several other battle types. Generally speaking, the objective is to either cap or kill all the enemy tanks. You want to kill all the enemy tanks. That is your primary objective. Killing all the enemy tanks gives you more experience to the entire team than capping does. However, you can cap, and you should cap if you're in danger of losing. So on this tank here, I've got the standard ammunition, and I've got high explosive equipped. These each do different amounts of damage, amounts of penetration, and travel at different velocities. Like I said, the damage model is quite complicated, and is very, very nice. You can blow off a track, you can fuck up the turret, you can, if you shoot their fuel tanks and they ignite, well, goodbye. They are going halfway to hell. So, this is a slightly different map, and there are quite a few maps in the game, each with a different premise. The last map was a... Okay, what the hell is he doing? He's on a suicide run, that's quite obvious. The last map was entirely urban, whilst this features both an urban environment along with an open field. Oh, I can't get my turret! No! I could have killed him if I actually got my turret around there. So, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? I don't know. Nope! Backing up. So you do have to angle your... well, there are several elements you have to worry about. Angling your tank is one of them. There you go. He's very, very badly damaged. Okay. Panzer S. Is that an artillery? Yeah, that's artillery. Believe it or not a lot of people like artillery. Can you guess why? Now, that was not skill, I should point out. The fact I died there wasn't a skilled player. The fact I died there was because artillery is extremely underpowered. Now you may be asking, Phoenix, that makes no sense. Why would an underpowered tank be able to instantly kill you? Well, what makes it underpowered also makes it quite overpowered. Artillery shots can land pretty much anywhere on the map. He may have been aiming at... There we go. He may have been aiming at this guy, and there's a good chance it missed and hit me. Just because of how inaccurate they are, they do significant amounts of damage and absolutely obliterate you. As you can see, this guy here's got his track. It's been knocked out, but not destroyed, so he will move at a slower pace. Well, that's just pitiful, so I'm going to have to find at least a half-decent game. But that was also a good indication. That's what you'll be expecting in this game. A lot of team kills, a lot of team being dickheads, and when that doesn't happen, well, there's probably a good chance you're going to get killed. The game has quite a significant learning curve. It's not something you can pick up and play, and admittedly, I suck. I really suck at this game. My player rating is extremely bad, my accuracy is extremely bad, my kills are pretty bad. I'm not good at this game. I never claim. Right, so, not sure what happened there. I had a bit of a recording issue and it cut out. Nevertheless, I lost my train of thought now. So yeah, while I'm here I'll actually show off the other things. But, you know, the past two games, they've just shown you're not always going to have a great time playing this. You really aren't. Sometimes it's just straight up not enjoyable. And, like I said, I'm by no means great. Hell, I'm not even good. I'm quite bad. But I get enjoyment out of it. You do have to play it in a specific way, though. You can't just go into it and pick it up and play. You have to learn the tanks. And to some people, that's not enjoyable. And fair enough. It's not all that enjoyable at times. So, I can see their reasoning for doing it, and I can also see their reason for, you know, the learning curve. I can see the reason for it being there. You know, it does make the game more enjoyable once you get good at it. But at the same time, there is very little help provided to you, and the tutorial doesn't teach you shit. So, yeah. As for the premium shit, we'll go over that now. So you can buy a premium account, and you get a little bit more XP and a little bit more silver? What's it called? Credits. Excuse me, sorry, I got a bit of a cold. And with the premium, you get more, and but you can also buy gold. You also get a bit of gold for doing some random shit. And with gold, you can buy premium ammo, and the premium ammo is, well, it's just a straight up improvement upon the standard ammo. So it's always worth getting, but it is more expensive using credits, and then using gold, well, that it's going to cost you actual money. You can also use some of these consumables, but they do cost a little bit. So aside from that, what can you spend the gold on? Well, you can train your crew. You can train your crew in tanks, and if I go into here, I can train him up to... I'm going to train my commander all the way up to 100% for 200 gold. Of course, I could always play, and it'll go up bit by bit through there, but it's just a quicker way. There's premium tanks you can buy, and they are fully decked out, offer you a bit more experience that you can use, and all of that. You can also convert, well, yeah, you can convert this XP you earn on premium tanks into standard XP for other tanks that they can use, and it just allows it to be. It allows you to level up and acquire new parts and new tanks a little bit faster. So, aside from that, that's pretty much all you can use it for. And whilst it does present a definite advantage in some areas, it doesn't in all. And as a matter of fact, I think it's almost... I didn't want to do that. I think it's almost too free-to-play friendly there is no real benefit to pay for it, to pay for the gold. And by no means is that a bad thing. That is a great thing. But it's just you don't get enough when you do purchase it, and that's fine by me. I could not be happier. So you can upgrade several elements on tanks, tracks, engines, guns, before you actually get to the other tank. So let's jump in one more time. I'll show off a bit more gameplay, and hopefully this time I won't do all that badly. I think I've covered everything I intended to cover, so it's really just showing off a bit more of the game. Hopefully I don't do too bad. Like I said, the maps vary in size, shape, and terrain. This one is a long-range encounter battle. And like I said, even though the map or the game modes change, sorry, it's all the same objective: kill or cap. No matter what the game mode is, it's kill or cap. It just a few things get altered, which I don't see the point in. This encounter battle in particular, it's they've made it easier for both teams to get to the cap circle, but they're encouraging capping. And a lot of people just go straight for the cap. Well, that is bloody... It's just stupid, it really is. Because once you go for that cap circle, if you win... We could win this in 30 seconds if all of us went to the cap circle. Mind you, we'd get no XP. Our 2 times would probably be about 50, so it is kind of ridiculous. Nevertheless... oh, I hit something. So I didn't say what I hit there, and it never does, but it said I got a critical hit. So it is partially useful. So I'm just going to sit here and line up another shot. You do have to wait, because it does take time for shots to line up. I'm using the standard armor piercing here just because it's cheap and I don't have to worry all that much about using it. This is a tier 6 game, so I do have to be slightly careful because there are some rather deadly tanks in tier 6 that are just all around better than what mine are. So it seems we haven't actually had anyone push up towards the capture point, so I might do that now and just provide some cover to those who... Oh, there we go, he's poked his head out now. Of course he does. Of course he pokes his head out as soon as I get away. It's just my luck. So there's a KV-1 over there I have to be wary of. It's probably obvious at this point I've made several references to the KV-1. It's a really good tank. And if you drive it even slightly well, it's not a fun time. So that is why I am being very, very cautious around any of the KV tanks, to be entirely honest. They're all exceptionally good tanks. I lost him. What is he in? He's in an M8A1. I can't get a shot on him now. So, oh, there we go. What is that? Oh, that's a Churchill. Never mind. That is going to be a pain in the ass to kill. What about that? Can't get a shot on that. Can't get a shot on that. So I'm going to reposition myself. And the game is quite slow. As you can see, it's not one of those fast-paced, kill everything games. You will be lucky to get more than a kill a game. And that's not a bad thing. You may do a significant amount of damage and not get a kill. Or you may get a ton of kills and deal very little damage just because you're picking up the scraps. So he's in a Churchill over there. This is one of those games where it's hard to talk and play the game at the same time, considering the he's dead. Considering the amount of thinking it requires. What is he in? KV1. Okay, that is not something I want hitting me at any point. So I've lost sight of him, I've lost sight of him. I'm gonna back up. I am not in very good position here. In fact, I'm in quite a poor position. Alright. I'm just gonna back up here. That's the KV1. If I can just... There we go.
That one didn't go through.
Nope. Alright, so now I'm loading the explosive ammo. Simply because if I hit him with this, it'll do some damage no matter what. And of course he died. Just my luck. So now I'm going up against TD over here, well most of the team is. Yeah. So one of the downsides to the TDs is they have a very powerful gun, they don't turn well, and they can only hit you from the back. Well, they can only hit you so long as their gun is pointing you. If their gun is pointing anywhere else, well, they're not exactly going to do a lot of damage. Alright, hang on, I'll go for his tracks. Oh, you piece of shit! So I actually hit an ally there because he... I don't know. Leave me alone.
That one didn't go through. We didn't even
Oh, I got his tracks. So we're all just wailing on this tank here. I can't believe I hit that ally. What a prick. He tried to ram, which is why that actually happened. And there we go. That was half decent. Well, at least I survived. And there we go. That was half decent. I got 810 XP out of that. So it does require some teamwork, and it does require some thinking before you act. All in all, it's a good game. I like it. I like it a lot. However, you will have moments where it's just absolutely ridiculous. And it gets to the point where you just don't want to play the game some days. And to be honest, that's fine. I don't blame you. It gets annoying at points. So I'll just show some of the upgrading here. I'm just purchasing this larger gun and mounting it. The same XP I use for mounting weapons and buying better weapons, I also use for attaining the next tank. So I do have to be careful with how much I spend. But unfortunately, I need 390,000, so it'll take a while to get that far anyway. Anyway, just to recap, it's the community can be quite bad at sometimes. It is extremely frustrating. There's a high loading curve. The game may or may not be enjoyable all the time because it is so frustrating. There are often times where, you know, some bullshit happens, such with that artillery kill. Excuse me. However, there's a variety of tanks, a variety of nations, variety of playstyles, so you can play however you really want to play. You don't have to play like this either. You can rank up only one specific nation, or you can rank up only tank destroyers and play those. It's really up to you, so it doesn't allow you to choose how you play. I didn't go much over it, but the aesthetic's quite nice. It's got a great option system. I won't show it because it'll actually take a sec. But it does have a really, really in-depth option system. It's moddable too, so there are graphical mods out there that make the game look a bit better and provide a slight advantage. However, nothing too big. Aside from that, the maps differ quite a bit, so they allow different play styles. The tanks allow different play styles. All in all, it's a good game, especially because the pay to win is it's not, the pay to win aspect isn't all that prevalent. How do I say that word? It isn't a big deal in this game. It's actually quite low, which is very, very nice. And it's constantly being updated, constantly being changed, fixed, and obviously things are being added in. They're adding in more and more tanks for all the factions, and especially because the Asian factions are quite low, they do kind of need to load those in. However, it does require a bit of grinding. For example, I showed off before, T28. I need to get to 13,000, so that's a few really good games I have to be in. Considering I only got that 800 because it was 3 times win. Nevertheless, good game. It's a free game, so I will link it in the description below, and you can check it out. It's an absolutely alright game. I'll leave it at that because it gets frustrating. So sometimes I'll be playing it, sometimes I won't. I will be featuring it a few more times on the channel, probably once or twice a week, up until I find something else to play. Aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you want to see. If you want to see another Welcome To. Criticisms below. As always, hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.